the first choice I made was to make a first choice. And what I learned was that success begins with nobody can choose for us.
It really does.
Right? Yeah. So as you reflect on your journey, will you share with us a first choice that you made that has impacted where you're at?
Oh, man. A first choice. I had to think really far back for this one, Trish, because I think that it even prompted me to consider that, like, you get so used to making choices that you forget where it all started and where sort of the dominoes began to fall. And I thought back and I've reflected on my career, where I stand in my career, like right now. Like, what does this question mean for me kind of right now? And a first choice that I believe that I made was becoming comfortable with disagreement. And I know like that it sounds a little silly, but for me, this started like in my home. Because you're like a young person, you're going against the assumptions and like the expectations of who you're supposed to become, especially when your parents like pour resources into you. Like, we're born into such privilege in this country, many of us. And so I think that we take that for granted. And there is an expectation from people around us of like what it is we're supposed to become. And I, like all women, I think, grew up in the patriarchy. And so there's so much to like assess, unlearn, relearn, like as a result of just being in that societal structure. And so a first choice that I had to execute like regularly as I started to approach adulthood is being comfortable and at peace in these like uncomfortable, stressful scenarios. And I try to keep an eye on like where my ego is in those types of conversations. This makes, the experience comfortable. Like, that's how you learn to be comfortable in really difficult places, is you have to keep an eye on your ego and like keep it to the side. I've had a lot of failure along the way, but that's how I learn. And I'm just getting better at it. So it's kind of worth the bumps and bruises as I think about the path. And like, I find myself recommitting to this first choice every single day. Progress lies on the other side of difficult conversations. And so many things in the world just stay the same. They stay broken because too many people don't want to do the messy work of trying to solve things by coming closer to each other, and myself included. So I'm just trying to like improve upon that each day.
That essence is probably the most, or one of the most, when we worked together, you said this before, when I had the opportunity to experience you, that is the essence that I felt. It, not only your belief in that, but the way that you live that through the questions you were asking, the situations you were posing, and even almost like having difficult self-conversations with yourself around certain situations. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Choose and Become interview series. To check out more episodes, go to www.trishkendall.com/podcast, or go to any of your favorite podcast channels, including YouTube, under Trish Kendall Speaks, and you'll find this interview and more. Choose and become.